Hello everyone, welcome to Study Vibes with Ash. I hope आपने part 1 of MPSE-1 India and the World देख लियो. This is part 2. So without much delay, let's quickly proceed. So the next theme is Indian neighborhood, basically South Asia. तो उस पर आती है India's relations with neighbors, India, Pakistan, South Asian nations के साथ कैसे relation है, then SAARC. SAARC is a major area in Indian neighborhood. So India's relations with neighbor, basically we have neighborhood first policy. क्योंकि हमारे लिए भी हमारे neighbors अगर अच्छे हैं तो हमारे लिए भी बेहतर है, which is why we try to better relations with SAARC nations, which is Sri Lanka, Afghanistan, Sri Lanka, Bhutan, Bangladesh, Pakistan, all of that. Which is why PM Modi keeps visiting these neighborhoods like to Bhutan, Nepal and all. Then we also have a historical and cultural links with our neighbors. We share languages, religions, even cultural heritages like Buddhism is a major form of cultural bond between Sri Lanka and Nepal for India. Economic engagement, obviously we have duty-free access, we invest in connectivity, then essential commodities are also supplied. We also support infrastructure in nations like Bangladesh and Sri Lanka, all of that, Security cooperation, of course, we help in military training, maritime security, intelligence sharing. Example is the coastal radar networks in Maldives, Seychelles, etc. Then comes connectivity projects like BBIN, like Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Nepal, motor vehicle agreements, or India, Nepal, and India, Bangladesh energy grids. That is another mode of relation that we have with our neighbors. Then development assistance, जैसे कि credits, lines of credits, grants and capacity buildings. Like for example, Afghan Parliament building में India ने contribute किया था. Then Salma Dam. Salma Dam is also known as Afghan-India Friendship Dam. So, we do such developmental assistance. Then disaster reliefs, obviously, Operation Maitri after Nepal's 2015 earthquake. Then what are the major challenges? Basically, there are many anti-India sentiments, or border disputes is one thing. Then political instability. Then, of course, the rise of China has also influences our ties that these respective nations have with China. China factor, because China is also doing investments in these regions, especially in Sri Lanka, Pakistan, Maldives, and that challenge India's influence. So what is the current trend? We are trying to balance our soft power, development assistance, and strategic partnerships to get to that regional leadership role. Okay, so next question is India-Pakistan relations and of course Kashmir. So what is the historical reason? It started from partition. So from there we have territorial disputes, identity politics and all. So the Kashmir issue, it is with respect to different territorial claims, religious demographics and strategic geography. And control over Siachen Glacier is a major strategic point. Then wars and hostilities, 47, 48, 65, 71, 1999, which is Kargil. Then cross-border terrorism, many Pakistan-backed groups like Lashkar-e-Taiba, Jaish-e-Mohammed, all of them target India. So like I was saying, cross-border terrorism, these Pakistan-backed groups like Lashkar-e-Taiba or Jaish-e-Mohammed, they target India, like the 26/11 Mumbai attacks or Pulwama attack in 2019. Then there have been a series of attempts from our side to have dialogues like Shimla Agreement, Lahore Declaration, Agra Summit, or composite dialogues. Then there were surgical strikes and assertive response, like India carried out cross-border strikes in 2016, then the Balakot air strikes in 2019, trade and people-to-people links. Currently, we have ended that because of geopolitical tensions. Then in respect to international mediation stance, India does not want a third party mediation because we have agreed on Shimla Agreement. As per that, India and Pakistan will decide on what needs to be done. Then the China-Pakistan nexus, that is another headache, especially BRI and the military cooperation between them. Also CPEC is China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, which links China's Xinjiang region to Pakistan's Gwadar port. Okay, then what is the present situation right now? It's quite tense, and we are focusing on security and to reduce terrorism. Then also the changes made to Kashmir, like from the removal of Article 370 in 2019. All of these has impacted our relations, as well as obviously the frequent skirmishes. India's policies towards South Asian nations. So basically our objective is what? Stability, connectivity and balanced economic growth. So with respect to Bangladesh, we have strong bilateral ties and we cooperate on trade, water sharing, security, the land boundary agreement that we agreed in 2015. Even historically, India played a major role in Bangladesh liberation. Nepal policy, we have open borders with them, we have cultural ties, then we have development assistance, we have built many roads and hydropower projects there. Sri Lanka, we balance the Tamil concerns with strategic interests. Like we gave post-war civil war aid, and during 2022 economic crisis also we supported Sri Lanka. Then Bhutan policy, we cooperate on hydropower, security cooperation, diplomatic protection. Like we buy surplus Bhutanese hydropower from them. With Maldives, we have defense, anti-radicalization and infrastructure. Like we support in helicopters, radar systems, as well as we provide trainings. Then Afghanistan policy, we try to help them in development, democracy and humanitarian aid, which is why the government toppled. India was very much concerned. Like Afghanistan should be our ally if we want to avoid Pakistan, and which is why we build highways, parliament, hospitals and all. Then countering Chinese influence, like we are trying to compete with China's Belt and Road Initiative, and India's saga is almost like a opposition to the string of pearls for maritime cooperation. Then integrated checkposts, so that improve our border trade and movement with Nepal, Bangladesh and Bhutan. So what is the current approach? We are mixing diplomacy, development aid, defense ties, cultural engagement and economic integration. Okay, next question is SAARC, formation, significance and challenges. So it was created to promote regional cooperation among South Asian countries. It was in 1985. Again, the objective is economic, cultural, scientific, social cooperation. So what are its key achievements? We have SAFTA, which has reduced the tariffs, free trade agreement. Then we have a SAARC university, South Asian Development Fund is there. So what is India's role? Because we are the largest member, we contribute significantly to SAARC programs. Then there is people-to-people cooperation like cultural exchanges, student movements, tourism initiatives, trade potential. Although right now the trade is low, we are trying to increase it. Then India-Pakistan rivalry is the major reason. Because if two of the members are, at loggerheads, then you can't have. China has an observer status. That is another concern for India. So which is why India is promoting the other regional groups like BBIN or BIMSTEC, because SAARC is not that efficient. So it is merely symbolic at the moment. Rather, because of SAARC, we have opened up other linkages, and those linkages are quite active. Now the next theme is India and extended neighborhood. So what we saw till now was the immediate neighborhood. Okay, so this one is India and ASEAN relations, which is part of our actors policy. So ASEAN is central to India's Indo-Pacific vision as well as to balance with China, which is why India keeps participating in ASEAN-led forums like EAS and ARF. EAS is what? East Asia Summit, and ARF is ASEAN Regional Forum. Okay, then Act East policy, which came up in 2014 till now. So we have upgraded the Look East policy to Act East. So right now we are acting on connectivity, commerce, culture and strategic cooperation. Then economic cooperation, we have India-ASEAN Free Trade Agreement in 2010. Then bilateral trade has increased a lot. Singapore is India's top FDI source in ASEAN. Then security engagement, obviously for maritime security like SIMBEX with Singapore Navy. Connectivity projects, we have India-Myanmar-Thailand Highway. Then Kala then multi-modal project which connects India to Sitwe Port. Then energy cooperation, especially investments in Vietnam. Cultural diplomacy, especially our Buddhist connections and diaspora linkages. Then countering China's influence. So for that, ASEAN is a major partner. Then challenges, our withdrawal from RCEP, so that has reduced our trade, and also connectivity projects are also facing delays. So the current status is that of, we consider ASEAN as an ally, but we want to sign or hum proceed tabhi karenge based on our terms. Because for Indo-Pacific region, ASEAN is a major ally. Then India and Central Asia relations. Firstly, there is a geostrategic significance. Why? Because the Central Asian region, you have energy security. So for that you have to invest. Then terrorism is a major point again, and for connectivity. Then historical ties like the Silk Route heritage and cultural exchanges. Agar hum history padhoge, then we have many, travelers or records of the Central Asia. From here, either they are taking things from here or they are traveling or they have seen, and vice versa. Like there are records of India with them also. Energy security, like we want oil and gas from them, which is why we participate in the Tapi pipeline with Turkmenistan. Security cooperation, of course, which is why we want stability in Afghanistan. Only if Afghanistan is stable can we have better relations with Central Asia, which is why we participate in SCO forums and all. Trade relations, we do not have a direct connectivity, so we are reliant on what? Iran's Chabahar port. Chabahar International North-South Transport Corridor that enhances India's access to Central Asia by bypassing Pakistan. Then we have very high-level dialogues like India Central Asia summits are there. Education and culture, we have many exchanges happening. China factor, again BRI is a concern. And the current status is that we want greater regional connectivity and we want to expand our security partnerships. Then India and West Asia, that is Middle East relations. So energy security, again 50% of India's oil and gas imports are from Saudi Arabia, UAE, Iraq, etc. We have a very significant diaspora in Gulf countries, so that again contributes to our economy. Strategic partnerships, in all areas, defense, cyber security, intelligence, all of that, which we do with UAE, Saudi Arabia, Oman and Qatar. Counter-terrorism cooperation, of course. Balancing Israel and Arab states. So we have very good relations with both. So therefore, which is why we are able to conduct India-Israel Defense cooperation as well as India-UAE economic ties. Then I2U2 grouping, which is a collaboration with US, UAE, Israel in technology and food security. That is Israel, India, US, UAE. Then economic engagement. Example for that is UAE, India, CEPA boosting bilateral trade. Then security conflicts is a major, cause of concern because they are fighting amongst each other, like Yemen, Syria and Iran, Saudi rivalry. Evacuation operation, like Ministry of External Affairs engages in frequent evacuation operations during crisis like Operation Rahat in Yemen. Then current trajectory, so we are a key strategic partner and we have very balanced engagement at the moment with every other nation. Now Indian-Africa relations. Firstly, historical solidarity because of our anti-colonial movements and as well as NAM. Energy and natural resources, Africa again gives its oil, minerals and rare earths. ONGC Videsh is something that invests in Sudan and Mozambique. Trade relations, India is among Africa's top partners, like Africa looks up to us, right? Development partnership, we have lines of credit, capacity building, Pan-African e-network, like we have tele-education and telemedicine initiatives with them. Then defense and security, especially the security of cooperation in Indian Ocean. Peacekeeping, like we contribute heavily to UN missions in Africa. Then we have significant diasporic linkages. In fact, there is a large Indian community in East and Southern Africa. Competition with China. Why Africa prefers us is because we offer them a greater transparency as opposed to China's debt-driven policy. Then political engagement, like we have India-Africa Forum Summits. So what is the current status? We focus on trade, technology, skill development and security cooperation. Then India-South Africa relations. Firstly, our historical bonds. So this one was basically Africa in general. This one is specific to South Africa. So the historical bond, like Gandhi South Africa legacy, it's a major reason. Anti-apartheid support. International Congress had also supported it. So African National Congress especially was formed during apartheid. Then trade and investment, we have strong trade in minerals, pharmaceuticals and automobiles. Then BRICS partnership, so there we collaborate on what? Economic, political and developmental agendas. IBSA, which is India, Brazil, South Africa, and that focus on South-South cooperation and democratic values. Energy and minerals like coal, gold and diamonds. Science and research, space and innovation. Then peace and security cooperation. Especially we have many multilateral engagements in UN as well as G20. Then we have cultural linkages, like we have a significant amount of Indian diaspora. So the festivals, all of them connect us. So our partnership currently, it has expanded to multilateral platforms and economic collaboration. Then India and Latin America. So right now, the engagement, especially economic engagement, is growing. Trade has increased a lot, and Latin America supplies us with energy and minerals, energy security. Like we import crude oil from Mexico, Venezuela, and Brazil. We have economic diversification, with them. Like Indian IT, pharma, automobile companies are all expanding businesses. Like TCS and Bajaj Auto have started their business in Latin America. Strategic outreach. We engage through CELAC, Mercosur, and Pacific Alliance. Um, so what is CELAC? CELAC is Community of Latin American and Caribbean States, and Mercosur is South American Trade Bloc. So, we are aligning with the major bodies in Latin America. The diplomatic expansion, like we have Indian embassies and high-level visits with them. South-South cooperation, again, IBSA, BRICS, agriculture and food security, because Latin America is a major source of edible oils and pulses. Then cultural interaction like yoga, Bollywood, Indian culture, songs, dance, all of these things are accepted. What are the challenges? Like, firstly, there is a huge distance between us geographically. Then, connectivity. It is like you need to, if you can't go through direct land route, so we'll have to take sea route. Now, that's again a difficulty. While there are other nations which can easily access them. Now, current status is we are strengthening the economic and strategic outreach, and also to diversify our partnership with Latin America. So, next theme is multilateralism and global governance. So, उसमें आती है पहले India's role in UN. We are one of the founding member contributions. So, like we are one of the original signatories of UN Charter in 1945, and we did participate heavily on early debates on decolonization and global peace. In fact, we have championed for a lot of democratic values in UN, like for Indonesia's independence in 1947. Support for collective security. So we emphasized a rules-based international order and supports the UN-led peace, security, and dispute resolution. Then peacekeeping leadership. India is among the largest troop contributors. Like we have participated in operations in Congo, South Sudan, and Lebanon. Then we also advocate for the global south, wherein we raise concerns for developing nations. In fact, one of the reasons why India spearheaded the National Solar Alliance with its dialogue at UN was because for its concern for global south. Then Security Council reform demands, because right now India is part of the G4. That is Germany, Japan, Brazil, and India. These are the 4 developing economies that have been asking for permanent membership, so that you can restructure. Then climate diplomacy, because क्योंकि हम एक developing nation है, we do have requirements for development, but at the same time the environmental commitment should also balance it, like the Paris Agreement negotiations. Peace building and humanitarian work. We are part of UNDP, WHO, UNICEF, as well as global vaccination initiatives. Then our counter-terrorism initiatives, like we call upon comprehensive conventions on international terrorism, that is CCIT. Then we make legal contributions, like we actively vote in UNGA, General Assembly on International Law and Dispute Settlements. Then what is the current rule? So right now, India has got the UNSC membership because of its stance on maritime security, counterterrorism, and peace. Not the permanent one, peacekeeping reform. So that shows that UN values India. So we are still progressing for much better reforms. Okay, next one is India's contribution to UN peace and security. So firstly, it is the largest troop contributor. We have around like 250,000 Indian soldiers who have served in various UN missions. That is quite highest from any other country. Then we have participated in many historic missions, like we have played major roles in Korea, Congo, and Cyprus. UNFICYP, which is United Nations Peacekeeping Force in Cyprus, जो कि अभी भी है from 1964, to prevent further fighting between Greek Cypriot and Turkish Cypriot. Then women peacekeepers, like we were the ones who deployed the first all-women police unit in Liberia. So again, that enhanced the UN gender representation. We have specialized expertise, especially in difficult terrains like Africa's jungles or highlands. There are medical and engineering teams. We provide hospital, demining, and infrastructure support. Moral authority, like because we are known for certain values, so we do not expect anything in return. It's nothing but it is not strategic, but only with goodwill, so that again enhances our credibility. Then training support. We train peacekeepers from Global South at Center for UN Peacekeeping. Then we advocate for peacekeeping reforms, like we want better mandates, technology and safety for peacekeepers. Then our counter-terrorism focus, like we push UN to prioritize anti-terror operations as part of security agenda. Then we have this diplomatic leadership, like we chair several UNSC committees, especially on sanctions and terrorism, where India was a non-permanent member. Even otherwise, we are an active participant in UN peace and security activities. Then the third question is related to humanitarian intervention. So firstly, what is it? It is the use of force or involvement to prevent human suffering due to conflict, genocide or crisis. यानी कि अगर कोई conflict हो रहा है, there is a violent situation, then either through force, mostly to prevent further suffering, like you provide them with medicine or you provide mediation, all of that comes under humanitarian intervention. Then what is India's approach? So we try to balance sovereignty with moral responsibility. Non-intervention principle, like India traditionally will not interfere in internal affairs, but at the same time we support UN mandated interventions, like under UNSC. We have sent UN missions, we have been part of UN missions in Kosovo, Sierra Leone or anywhere. Then regional humanitarian roles. We try to intervene without much force, like in the Sri Lanka tsunami relief, mostly through assistance, military non-coercive help. We focus on evacuations, rescue operations and relief, like in Operation Maitri, Nepal earthquake. Then we participate in evacuation missions, like India will evacuate its nationals as well as anybody hit in crisis zones, like Operation Rahat in Yemen or Operation Ganga in Ukraine. So we balance ethics and diplomacy. So we support humanitarian action, but we are also against misuse for regime change. Like obviously India can support agar, if somebody is fighting to topple the government as well, but usme India will not take part. Then UN involvement. So we support responsibility to protect aspect of UN. What is the current relevance? So we focus on humanitarian diplomacy only through aid, medical help and disaster relief. We do not necessarily participate in any kind of military help as such at the point, unless it's under UNSC. Okay, next question is regional cooperation in contemporary international relations. First one is need for regionalism. What is the need? तो उसमें आती है, we need what? Economic reasons, connectivity, security, all of these things are interdependent. तो इसके लिए definitely we need cooperation. South Asia example, like SAARC was created to address poverty, trade and connectivity issues. Now what is the limitation? Political dispute, जैसे कि इंडिया पाकिस्तान में या इंडिया चाइना में जब होती है, तो that does affect the regional groupings. वैसे तो चाइना के साथ हम we are not necessarily a part of SCO and all, ठीक है. So India-Pakistan tensions hamper SAARC, that's an example. Then alternative groupings. In fact, rather than these larger groupings, जो sub-regional ones है वो ज़्यादा effective है, इसलिए BIMSTEC, BBIN, क्योंकि वो smaller groupings है और उनके साथ इंडिया का भी we have better relations. Then ASEAN success model. So ASEAN is the best example for economic growth through regional integration. Then Africa's regionalism, African Union or ECOWAS, that shows a collective security mechanisms. ECOWAS is Economic Community of West African States. Then European Union, it is the most successful example of political and economic integration. Then security cooperation, regional navies or armies, they coordinate, like the Indian Ocean Rim Association. Then economic integration, again the free trade agreements. So currently regional cooperation has helped us to tackle terrorism, climate change and global supply chains. Then comes NAM, non-aligned movement. It originated in 1961 with India, Egypt and Yugoslavia, Ghana and Indonesia. So 5 nations. India was a principal architect under Nehru. Now the core principles include strategic autonomy, anti-colonialism, peaceful coexistence. So Nehru, Jawaharlal Nehru from India, Joseph Broz Tito from Yugoslavia, Gamal Abdel Nasser from Egypt, Sukarno in Indonesia and Kwame Nkrumah from Ghana. So इतने सारे leaders, they built and formed They came together and formed NAM. Then, what was its Cold War role? So, it helped the newly independent states to avoid joining USSR or this one, US. Contribution to decolonization, because they were themselves part of colonial uh, exploitation, so they supported the new liberation movements. India's leadership, India had chaired multiple NAM summits and it also mobilized the global South solidarity post Cold War transformation. So right now, because it is not there are no military blocks as such and the alignments is also changed, we have also shifted the focus to development, South-South cooperation and all. So what are the criticisms against NAM? It is outdated and that it lacks influence. What is its relevance? That NAM is used to engage with Africa, Latin America and Asia. And the present status is that it's a platform to raise global inequality and multilateral reform issues globally. Then comes BRICS. It's a grouping of Brazil, Russia, India, China and South Africa. So it represents over 40% of the global population. New Development Bank, which was formed under BRICS, that provides loans for sustainable development. In contingent reserve arrangement, especially during economic crisis, it will support. Then India's role, India plays a part in innovation, digital governance and fintech. Then global South leadership. So BRICS is an alternative to Western financial institutions. Political cooperation as well on global governance reforms. The China challenge. So India sees BRICS to somehow, challenge the enmity with China through cooperation and competition here. Then expansion debate, whether new members should be invited or not. So it's a key pillar of multipolar world. Then BIMSTEC. BIMSTEC includes Bangladesh, India, Myanmar, Sri Lanka, Thailand, Nepal and Bhutan. So the idea is to link South Asia and Southeast Asia. So India is a major, position holder in BIMSTEC. In fact, India prefers BIMSTEC over SAARC because in SAARC Pakistan है, इसमें Pakistan नहीं है. So better engagements. Areas of cooperation, that is connectivity, trade, energy, counter-terrorism and all of that. Then security role. BIMSTEC focuses on maritime security in the Bay of Bengal. Economic potential. It provides access to dynamic ASEAN markets. Cultural heritage. We have Buddhist roots. Then other cultural festivals. Infrastructure projects like we build highways, ports, energy grids. Example जो मैंने पहले दी हुई है. Then what are the challenges like political instabilities in these regions like in Bangladesh or Myanmar, as well as logistical delays. Now what are the future prospects to strengthen our Indo-Pacific regional relations? Then IMF, International Monetary Fund. So its purpose is to provide financial stability, monetary cooperation and crisis assistance. India and IMF, India joined it in 1947 and we've utilized the IMF during crisis like 1991 balance of payment crisis led to IMF assistance. Quota reform, like India wants greater voting power for itself. Then policy advice, IMF advice on fiscal, monetary and financial reforms. Then support for South Asia, like it helps the neighboring countries like Sri Lanka during crisis. Now what is the criticism? IMF conditionalities are often seen as harsh for developing nations. Then what is the role in global economy? Like it influences regulations, exchange rates and global financial stability. Then India's contribution. India participates in governance bodies and decision making of its activities. Strategic use. Like IMF is used to somehow influence the global economic aspects. So currently we are working on digital currency regulations, climate financing and global debt risks. Now the next theme is economic diplomacy and globalization. So इसमें क्या क्या आती है? There is role and impact of MNCs, globalization, India's economic cooperation with West Asia, India's trade with Africa, liberalization and privatization in India, impact of FDI on India. So role and impact of MNCs in international economic relations. First one, major drivers of globalization. MNCs have expanded across borders. तो उससे क्या हुआ है? Technology, products and capital, all of them have been linked, like Apple, Toyota, Samsung. These are not restricted to any one nation, so they have become global. Technology transfers, like they'll bring in newer and advanced technologies to host nations, like semiconductor collaborations with India. Employment generation, that's a major thing. Like even direct and indirect jobs, like IT giants like Accenture or IBM working in India. Then capital inflows, FDIs, that will boost local investment like retail, automobiles, even telecom. Then integration into global value chains, like developing economies enter global value chains through MNC partnerships, like Indian pharma firms supplying global markets. Then competition and efficiency, like domestic industries face competition, therefore their efficiency will also increase. Like telecom MNCs, when they came in, it sort of increased the quality of telecom industry. Concerns of exploitation, like they might exploit labor or resource extractions unnecessarily. Like environmental issues in mining sector is a consequence of these large industries coming up. Unequal bargaining power, because MNCs are more powerful, so they might even overpower governments. Cultural impact, like global brands will affect our lifestyles as well as the consumer culture. Then, what is the overall significance? They have shaped the global economic relations through investment, innovation, and interconnected markets. The second one is globalization. Globalization is economic, cultural, political interconnection across borders. So, what are the major features of it? There is an economic integration because there are no trade barriers. So, there is free flow of goods and capital. Example is World Trade Organization led liberalization. The technology revolution like internet, AI, and digital trade has accelerated globalization. FDI and MNCs. So investment mobility has increases interdependence. Then cultural exchange like movies, music, cuisine, they're all spread globally. So that leads to yoga's worldwide popularity. Then migration flows, like people move for work, education, and safety. And example for that is the Indian diaspora worldwide. Then what are the benefits to India? There is an outsourcing boom, IT sector growth, increased exports, better services, and lifestyles. Then what are the challenges? Through globalization, there has been inequality. Policy autonomy is lost because right now it's not a singular entity. Then cultural homogenization is not there. Multicultural, right? Job displacement. Global crisis impacts like pandemic, wars, economic recessions will affect everything. Current trends, there is a shift towards selective globalization to focus on supply chain resilience. That we need not become global in every aspect so that we do not have any control. Okay, third question is India's economic cooperation with West Asia. So I think I missed it there. Plus also it's part of global connectivity. Energy trade, Gulf countries supply over half of India's oil and gas, like Saudi Arabia, UAE, Iraq. These are the major suppliers. Then trade and investment. Bilateral trade exceeds around $150 billion annually. Indian diaspora, we have around above 9 million remittances from Indian workers. 9 million Indian workers and their remittances. And strategic partnerships, UAE, India, CPA boosts our investment and market access. What do you mean by CPA? Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement. Then infrastructure collaboration, like Gulf sovereign funds are invested in Indian ports, highways, and airports. Food security projects, like UAE is a major investor in agriculture and food parks. Then technology and innovation, like the digital platforms, fintech, AI cooperation, which is emerging right now. Then security and maritime trade, like Indian Navy protects the energy shipping routes. Diversifying the economic links, right? Right now we are started linkages in renewable energy, petrochemical joint ventures to expand the cooperation. So currently, economic partnership is central to India's energy security and global connectivity. Next is India's trade with Africa. So India-Africa trade is around $90 billion and we focus more on oil, minerals and pharmaceuticals. Okay, 1 minute. Agar koi sawal hai, on India's relation with Africa, then you can link in the earlier discussed points and bring in the trade aspects also. मैं ज़्यादा पॉइंट्स आपको बता रही हूँ जो कि आपने नोटिस किया होगा ताकि आप कुछ तो याद रहे एंड व्हेन यू जस्ट नीड टू लिसन टू व्हाट आई एम सेइंग आपको बस 2x पे या 1.75 पे आप सुन लो आई थिंक इट विल हेल्प यू टू एंड this is hardly I think the entire video would come to 1.5 hour part 1 and part 2 तो पूरा अगर आप सुन लोगे तो आपको कल याद which is your exam date आपको याद ही रहेगा. Then export profile, like India exports pharmaceuticals, textiles, machinery and automobiles. Then import profile, it imports crude oil, gold, pulses and metals. Major suppliers include Nigeria, Angola, etc. Investment opportunities, Indian firms invest in telecom, mining, then FMCG, like Bharati Airtel, which has started its operation across Africa. You know what FMCG is? FMCG is fast moving consumer goods. यानी कि वो जल्दी they keep moving like milk, fruits, vegetables, all of those things. ठीक है? Development projects like lines of credit support energy, agriculture, ICT, like the Pan-African e-network. Then capacity building, like we train under ITEC programs for African professionals. Diasporic role, like we have had historical presence in Kenya, Tanzania, South Africa. Then our competition with China, like we are focusing on capacity building rather than debt-driven models, which is what China does. Isliye, when they fail to pay the money, then China will come in and hold the region. Challenges, political instability, and of course logistical barriers, because again connectivity issues are there, so we'll have to rely more on expenditures to reach them. The current direction, we are trying to strengthen partnership through India-Africa Forum Summits. Then liberalization and privatization in India. It was introduced through the 1991 reforms, and liberalization dismantled the license Raj and opened up the economy. That reduced government control, like deregulation encouraged private enterprise. Foreign investment was allowed, like sectors were open to FDI, that again led to economic growth. Privatization of PSUs. So government divested stakes in their public enterprises, like Air India was sold to Tata Group as part of this idea. Then trade reforms like tariff reductions, which again brought in global competitiveness. Technology and innovation growth. IT revolution happened only after liberalization. Employment generation, especially in service sector, IT and telecom sectors. What are the challenges? Like there is a growth, but job has not been quite synchronous with it. So there is a jobless growth. Inequality is there. Corporate dominance. Like now companies, private companies have major role. Economic transformation. India has integrated into world markets, and that is how we became a major emerging economy. So what is the current focus? The new policies are emphasizing more on digital economy and entrepreneurship. Now, what is the impact of FDI on India? Foreign direct investment. Firstly, it gives us capital inflows. So FDI will give you long-term investment in infrastructure and industries. Technology transfers. If it is long term, then they'll have to stay here for some time, right? So they'll introduce modern technologies like semiconductor or electronic vehicle investments. Then employment growth. But there will be direct and indirect jobs. Ab indirect jobs case, imagine there is a company here. Now surrounding that there will be housing, there will be shops. So in that sense, indirect jobs. Boost to exports. MNCs will use India as a manufacturing base, like Maruti Suzuki, which is exporting cars. Sectoral growth, like retail, telecom, manufacturing, banking. These are the sectors that have seen immense growth. Competition and efficiency. Domestic firms will innovate because they want to compete with the global standards. Infrastructure development like ports, highways, logistics, they've all been modernized through FDI. Now what are the risks? There is profit repatriation, market dominance by foreign firms, and vulnerability to global crisis. Now what is the policy evolution? Like India has liberalized FDI in defense, retail insurance, and fintech currently. Now current status is right now, because of our market size, digital reforms, and the human resource that we possess, India is one of the top FDI destinations. Now we're moving towards the end. So it's environment and climate policy. तो उस पर क्या क्या आती है? Environment versus development debate, then environmental protection in international relations, Kyoto Protocol. See, MPSE 1 is quite similar to, अगर आप remember कर रहे हो, it's quite similar to MPS 2. So the same thing was there. So first is environment versus development debate. इसका जो है डायरेक्ट आपको कई लिंकेजेस नहीं मिलेगा, बट यू कैन यूज़ इट इन फॉरेन पॉलिसी इश्यूज, और इधर उधर आप डाल सकते हो. क्या सो विद रेस्पेक्ट टू एनवायरनमेंट एंड दिस थिंग, can say economic growth needs is something like infrastructure, industries and energy are needed to reduce poverty. Then environmental costs, sustainable development approach, क्योंकि ये डायरेक्ट नहीं है तो इसलिए मैं जल्दी जा रही हूँ. Like India's national solar mission to promote clean energy, renewable energy focus, we are the largest renewable energy expansion plan. Then legislative measures taken, climate responsibilities, common but differentiated responsibility, infrastructure versus ecology conflicts. green economy transition. What is the current trend? So we are trying to integrate environment, climate adaptation, green finance, and resilient infrastructure, all of that. Then what is environmental protection in international relations? So there is a global nature of environmental problems like the smog in South Asia affecting multiple countries. So it's like climate change, ozone depletion, biodiversity loss, ये सब सारे nations को affect करेगी. Then rise of environmental diplomacy. ये वाली topic, point. Environmental diplomacy आप कहीं भी you can use it. They negotiate treaties on emissions, forests, and hazardous waste. UN central role like UNEP, UNFCCC, then IPCC, all of them shape international environmental norms. Climate negotiations like Paris Agreement, North-South divide, that is developed and developing. Climate finance, seen as a compensation for loss and damage. Then environmental aid, funds to support renewable energy, conservation, disaster resilience. Then environmental security, like climate change being linked to other aspects like conflict, migration, and resource scarcity, like water disputes intensified by climate stress. Transboundary issues like shared rivers, haze pollution, and ocean governance, all of them require cooperation like India-Bangladesh water agreements. The non-state actors like NGOs, corporations, and civil society influencing global environmental policy. Then what are the current developments? Like there's a focus in shifting to climate resilience, green technologies, carbon markets, and sustainable finance. Then comes Kyoto Protocol. So what is the background? Kyoto Protocol came under in 1997 under UNFCCC. UNFCCC. The Kyoto Protocol was the first binding international agreement, and what was its aim? Greenhouse gas reduction. So it was for GHGs, greenhouse gases. And what is the protocol known as? It is Kyoto Protocol. So they had the principle of differentiated responsibility. Differentiated responsibility matlab, developed countries had binding emission reduction targets. Like developing countries, it was not binding. Obviously, they'll also have to reduce the emissions. But for developed countries, it was binding. And our commitment period was from 2008 to 2012. Then in Doha, it was amended again from 2013 to 2020. So emission targets, industrialized nations were required to reduce emissions by an average of 5.2%, that is below 1990 levels. And what are the market mechanisms? It brought in certain innovative economic tools to cut emissions. First, clean development mechanism, joint implementation, and emissions trading. And India has hosted several clean development mechanisms in projects in renewable energy. Then India's position. India supported Kyoto because it protected the development rights. At the same time, it was asking the developed nations to act first. Then what were the advantages to India? So we got revenue from carbon credits, then growth in renewable energy projects, recognition in global climate forums. What are the criticisms and shortcomings? US withdrew from it, so that again reduced the effectiveness because US is the world's largest industrial country in terms of the contribution or development. China's rise was not fully accounted for. So when Kyoto Protocol came in, China was a developing nation. Right now, it is as good as a developed nation. Global emissions kept rising, even though these standards were there that you are expected to reduce it to 5.2% below 1990. With progress, nothing really happened. Then transition to Paris Agreement. Kyoto was rigid and binding, so it was replaced by the flexible and voluntary targets set under Paris Agreement in 2015. So what is its importance? It is historic for establishing carbon markets and legally binding climate action frame. So with this, I am ending MPSC 1. I hope आपको एक idea मिली हो, and I have given all the major pointers, and with this I am quite sure that you'll get good marks. और अगर आपने मेरे पहले की वीडियोस भी देखी है तो जो भी क्वेश्चंस मैंने डिस्कस किए हैं उन्हीं से क्वेश्चंस आए हैं फॉर विच एवर एग्जाम्स हैव बीन कंडक्टेड टिल नाउ. सो थैंक्स फॉर वॉचिंग. डू सब्सक्राइब, लाइक, शेयर एंड कमेंट, और आगे भी ऐसी वीडियोस से मैं जल्दी वापस आऊँगी. ओके, थैंक यू.